Bonjour et bienvenue. Hello and welcome. Today's lecture is really simple but very important because today we are going to learn the alphabets in French. But before we move ahead, I want you to keep in mind that if you want to learn a foreign language, then it is really very important to have a proper understanding of the pronunciation of that particular language. And that's why in today's lecture, I am going to focus more on the pronunciation of the alphabets in French. Now, without any further ado, we will quickly go through the topics that we are going to cover in this lecture. So first of all, we will discuss about the alphabets and their pronunciations. And after going through the alphabets and their pronunciations, we will discuss about the words associated with each alphabet. So, as we know that only learning the alphabets won't help. That's why in this lecture, we will discuss about the words that are associated with each alphabet. Alright? And in the last, I will give you the list of vocabulary so that you can pause the video for a while and note down that list in your vocabulary notebook. Right? So gear up. We are starting with the alphabets. So here we have our alphabets and in French we call it as les alphabets en français. I am repeating it again. Les alphabets en français. It means the alphabets in French. So alphabets in French are same as in English, but the only difference that you will observe is in their pronunciation. And to make you clear with the pronunciations, I have mentioned the sound at the base of each alphabet. You can observe here. And believe me, these sounds will definitely help you to understand the pronunciation of each alphabet very easily. Now you must be wondering why I have highlighted some of these alphabets here. Well, the reason behind it is that there are some uncommon points associated with these alphabets. So once you are clear with the pronunciation of all these alphabets, I will come back to these highlighted alphabets. Alright? So let's start from the very first alphabet. In French, it is pronounced as A. A. I am repeating it again. A. Alright? Now let's move on to the second alphabet. In French, it is pronounced as B. B. I am repeating it again. B. Alright. Now have a look at the third alphabet. In French, it is pronounced as C. 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 Alright. Now let's move on to the fourth alphabet. In French, it is pronounced as D. D. They. Alright. Now let's move on to the fifth alphabet. In French, it is pronounced as O. 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 Alright. Now let's move on to the sixth alphabet. In French, it is pronounced as F. 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 Alright. Now let's move on to the seventh alphabet. And in French, it is pronounced as G. 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 I hope it is clear. The next is H. 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 Alright. Now let's move on to the ninth alphabet. In French, it is pronounced as E. 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 The next is G. 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 The next is K. 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 Alright. Now have a look at the 12th alphabet. In French, it is pronounced as L. 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 Alright. Now let's move on to the 13th alphabet. In French, it is pronounced as M. 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 Alright. The next is N. 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 Alright. Now have a look at the 15th alphabet. In French, it is pronounced as O. 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 Alright. The next is P. 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 Alright. Now the 17th alphabet is pronounced as Q. 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 Alright? Now let's move on to the 18th alphabet. In French it is pronounced as R. 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 I hope it is clear. Now the next is S. 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 Now have a look at the 20th alphabet. In French it is pronounced as T. 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 Alright? The next is U. 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 Alright? Now have a look at the 22nd alphabet. In French it is pronounced as V. 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 Alright? The next is W. 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 Alright? Now have a look at the 24th alphabet. In French it is pronounced as X. 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 Alright? The next is Y. 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 Alright? And now have a look at the 26th alphabet, and in French it is pronounced as Z. 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 Alright? So here we are done with the pronunciation of all these alphabets, and I really hope that the pronunciation of each alphabet is clear to you. Now I want to bring your attention towards these highlighted alphabets. Otherwise, they might trouble you in future. So first of all, have a look at this alphabet G. In French, it is pronounced as J. J. And now have a look at this alphabet J. In French, this alphabet is pronounced as J. J. So you better be very careful with these two alphabets, because you might get confused with their pronunciation in future. Now have a look at this alphabet H. In French, this alphabet is pronounced as H. H. Now there is a very important point about this alphabet that you should note down. And the point is that the alphabet H is always muted in French. It means that whenever we are implementing the alphabet H in any particular French word, then it will always be muted. We will not pronounce this alphabet H in any case. Alright? So that's all about this alphabet H, and now let's have a look at this alphabet W. In French, it is pronounced as W. 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 So the pronunciation of this alphabet seems like a complex word itself, isn't it? And now have a look at this alphabet Y. In French, it is pronounced as Y. 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 So the pronunciation of this alphabet is again a little complex one, right? So you have to be very careful with these alphabets. And now let's have a look at the alphabet that troubles most of the French learners. The pronunciation of this alphabet R is actually the most challenging one for almost all the non-native French learners. In French, this alphabet is pronounced as R. 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 So this sound comes from the back of your throat. It's like a gargling sound, right? And this sound might trouble you in the beginning, but don't worry, you will get the hang of it soon with the practice. And in the upcoming lectures, we will discuss more about this sound. Alright? So here we are done with the French alphabets and their pronunciations. And now let's move on to the words associated with each alphabet. So here we have our words, and in French we call it as les mots. Les mots. It means the words. Alright, so let's start from the very first alphabet, that is A. And the French word associated with this alphabet is called as avion. 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 And avion is the French word for airplane. Now let's move on to the second alphabet, that is B. And the French word associated with this alphabet is called as ballon. 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 Ballon means a ball. Now let's move on to the third alphabet, that is C. and the French word associated with this alphabet is called as chat. 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 Chat means a cat. And now let's move on to the fourth alphabet, that is they, and the French word associated with this alphabet is called as drapeau. 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 Drapeau means a flag. Now let's move on to the fifth alphabet, that is and the French word associated with this alphabet is called as éléphant. 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 Alright? Éléphant means an elephant. Now have a look at the sixth alphabet, that is F, and the French word associated with this alphabet is called as fleur. 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 So fleur is a flower. Now let's move on to the seventh alphabet, that is G, and the French word associated with this alphabet is called as grenouille. 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 So grenouille is a frog. Now have a look at the eighth alphabet, that is H, and the French word associated with this alphabet is called as hibou. 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 So hibou is a French word for owl. Now let's move on to the ninth alphabet, that is E, and the French word associated with this alphabet is called as insecte. 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 So insect means an insect. Now let's talk about the 10th alphabet, that is J, and the French word associated with this alphabet is called as jus. 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 So jus is juice. Now let's have a look at the 11th alphabet, that is K, and the French word associated with this alphabet is called as kangourou. 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 It means a kangaroo. Now let's check out the 12th alphabet, that is L, and the French word associated with this alphabet is called as lion. 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 So lion is a lion. Now have a look at the 13th alphabet, that is M, and the French word associated with this alphabet is called as maison. 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 So maison is a house. Now have a look at the 14th alphabet, that is N, and the French word associated with this alphabet is pronounced as ni. 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 Alright? Ni means nest. Now have a look at the 15th alphabet, that is O, and the French word associated with this alphabet is pronounced as ours. 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 Ours means bear. Now let's talk about the 16th alphabet, that is P, and the French word associated with this alphabet is pronounced as pain. 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 It means a bread. Now let's have a look at the 17th alphabet, that is alphabet Q, and the French word associated with this alphabet is pronounced as queue. 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 It means a tail. Now have a look at the 18th alphabet, that is R, and the French word associated with this alphabet is pronounced as raisin. 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 It means grapes. Now let's talk about the 19th alphabet, that is S, and the French word associated with this alphabet is pronounced as souris. 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 Souris means a mouse. Now have a look at the 20th alphabet, that is T, and the French word associated with this alphabet is pronounced as tigre. 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 It means a tiger. Now let's talk about the 21st alphabet, that is U, and the French word associated with this alphabet is pronounced as uniforme. Uniform. Uniform. It means a uniform. Now have a look at the 22nd alphabet, that is V. And the French word associated with this alphabet is pronounced as vache. 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 Vache means a cow. Now let's move on to the 23rd alphabet, that is W. And the French word associated with this alphabet is pronounced as wagon. 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 It means a carriage. Now have a look at the 24th alphabet, that is X. And the French word associated with this alphabet is pronounced as xylophone. 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 And now let's talk about the 25th alphabet, that is Y. And the French word associated with this alphabet is pronounced as iot. 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 And we can easily identify the meaning from the picture, it is a yacht. And finally, let's have a look at the 26th alphabet, that is Z. And the French word associated with this alphabet is pronounced as zèbre. 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 It means a zebra. So that's all about the alphabets in the French language. Now before ending this lecture, I will show you the list of vocabulary that I have used in this lecture, so that you can pause the video for a while and note down this list in your vocabulary notebook. Thank you.